Guys, Roland here. Today we have an amazing conversation. I'll be talking with a very good friend who will be sharing ideas on how to trust yourself enough so that you can manifest your soul tribe. We'll try to find out more about what a soul tribe is and really how to find yourself amongst this group of people and much more. Right after this. Welcome to Conversations with Roland, where the goal of this show is to learn life secrets through diverse experiences. I am your host, Roland Achenjang. Guys, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Roland. As always, I am super excited to record these conversations, and today's no different. Today with me is an amazing person. He's a creative director for artists, currently working in Ecuador to help rebrand a company called Métier. And this company makes straw hats, really like very nice, quote unquote, sexy straw hats. I've seen some previews of this. I love it. My guest is also a member of a duo band called The Game Plan. I believe they make some very nice, cool, I call it like house music. That may not be the right way to describe it, but I love it. It reminds me of a band in Canada. And I'm forgetting their name right now, but it's gonna come to me just randomly. But anyway, that's not a very, very good description of the band, but it'll come to me. Even more important though is my guest's interest in spiritual growth, and I'm excited to talk to him about this, specifically about his path to spiritual growth and how he was able to find his soul tribe. And I think what he shares is going to be super valuable for many of us who are starting out on this journey and finding the courage or even the challenges to connect with like-minded people. Should be a fascinating listen. And there's really no need for me to waste any more time in welcoming my new good friend, Keilan McNeil, aka Key, to Conversations with Roland. Key, how are you, man?
Good, man. Happy to be here and happy to just see this kind of unfolding and happening, and glad to connect because we just connected recently, like about a week ago. So pretty spontaneously, but the energy's already fresh. So I'm excited to see what happens here. Likewise.
I mean, really, really likewise. This was literally less than a week in the making. I saw a video you posted on a Facebook group that we're both in. And as I watched the video, I just got this big hit or intuitive feeling to reach out and ask you to come record a podcast conversation with me. And honestly, it's been a very short time between when we reached out or when I reached out, you accepting. Thank you for that, for being open-minded. We had a preliminary conversation and then here we are. This is awesome.
Yeah, now your name's on my briefs. So
that still cracks me up. You should just, I think you should share that story. I think you should share that story just real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, totally. So to give you guys a little background, again, like me, just like Roland just described, we met about a week ago. And I'm here in Ecuador and I came here to help out a company. And essentially I came here with just a backpack. So I had very minimal clothing. And so I've been kind of purchasing clothes along the way. And I purchased some briefs like 2 weeks ago. And here, I'll show you guys. So I'm like, yesterday I'm like getting ready for the podcast and stuff. And I'm thinking about it, obviously, because, you know, when you're making kind of like recording anything, it's kind of like next level. It feels exciting. And as I'm getting ready, I like look down at my briefs after I got out of the shower and Roland's name is on my briefs.
That's so insane.
And not only have I never met anybody named Roland, but I'm just like, what the hell, dude? So for me, it was confirmation that obviously we're in the right place at the right time. And I do believe in synchronicities. And sometimes like you get winks from the universe like that, where it's like almost like there's like someone behind the scenes like setting this up like a joke. Like it's just like, oh yeah, they're gonna love this one. Like they're gonna love this one. So yeah, dude, your name's on my briefs. We just met a week ago, but you know, here we are.
Here we are. And honestly, when you first told me, you showed me that right before we started recording, my face, I mean, even up to now, I'm still surprised because like I said, I love my name. I love Roland. I use it all the time. I say it in so many of the projects that I work on. I want to make sure people know that, okay, Roland was part of this. I'm familiar with the music company named Roland. I'm familiar with like healthy grains company called Roland. Never have I known a clothing company that makes men's underwear called Roland. I should be like the face of this thing, is what
Dude,
I'm saying.
yeah. Oh, for sure. You're blowing up, and they're great briefs. They're great briefs. So
And that's all
they're doing your name justice. So
I love it.
it's not like they're making like they're not making bad pairs of briefs out here. So good way to go.
Indeed. No, that's fascinating. And I thank you so much for sharing. The one thing it does bring to mind, which you did mention, okay, and I think it fits in this conversation. We may be jumping the gun here, but it feels right. Let's just do it, right? In that,
Sure.
when you start on this journey, a spiritual journey, this thing called synchronicities become really part of your journey, where things like this happen. And so, just to be brief, how have you trusted your intuition enough to say, okay, this is a sign and not just some coincidence, in helping you find your soul tribe, for instance?
Sure. Yeah. So just on like synchronicities in general, like sometimes I'm pretty discerning. Like I wouldn't say I'm like necessarily too up in the clouds with spirituality. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, synchronicity, like, and they freak out about it. But for me, I'm like, I have a discerning eye. So I'll notice things. But for example, every time I've taken a leap of faith or something, signs like something like you can't ignore will happen. Like just like your name being on my briefs, for example. Like I don't tell anybody really about crazy synchronicities, except like in circumstances where it's like it's being orchestrated for you, and it's like you have the awareness that it's happening, and it's more like an undeniable kind of thing. And I believe in like number synchronicities and stuff like that too, and I've experienced some of those as well, just in terms of when you're in the right place at the right time and you're on your soul path, so to speak. I do believe this creation is very intelligent, and it's mathematical, and it speaks in certain ways, and synchronicities and numbers are part of that. So even like, even beyond finding your soul tribe, just kind of like your soul mission or following your heart, you'll find them like along the way. At least in my experience, you kind of have to be open to it, because you're not going to perceive anything that you're not aware could be a possibility. So if you stay open to it and trust that, then they'll show themselves.
No kidding. Two big things there. Leap of faith. Leap of faith is one. And if you're taking a leap of faith, usually you're open to the limitless possibilities of what the outcome of that leap could be, which I do appreciate. And that's a big part in synchronicities as well, is when you take those leap of faiths, synchronicities are basically you identifying, kind of validations. Like, oh, this is another sort of mile marker that says you're on the right path, or keep going, essentially. So yeah,
dude, totally. And really quick on a leap of faith, like when you kind of take one and you put yourself out into the unknown, there is this orchestration that kind of happens. Like I moved to California like 2 years ago, and without a car, a place to live or anything, and I literally stood out on blind faith, and all these things started orchestrating around me, these synchronicities. I started meeting people who made music, and then I had a place to live all of a sudden, and like there's this symphony happening. And when you kind of put yourself out there, you're like truly humbled, actually, by how supported we actually are. So
yeah, no, I cannot agree more. And that big part is really the leap of faith, trusting that this feels right. This feels like the very next step I should take. And then just taking it and being like, what will happen? And stuff always happens. The fact that you and I are talking today is literally a leap of faith, which we've both taken. I had no idea who you were until about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, right? And I'm really happy that we've connected and we're doing this, which makes me beg the question is, in going back, right? You're new to my audience. I'm new to your audience. If we just kind of quickly recap why eventually you even started taking on this leap of faiths. Like what happened in Key's life where he was like, this can't be it, man. There's gotta be more to this.
Yeah, I love the energy behind that because that's exactly what happened. And that was exactly the energy. But basically, long story short, I was in college doing what I thought I should be doing. And I was like 2 years in. And like a couple pivotal things happened all simultaneously where I did experiment with LSD actually. Which I would say was one of my greatest teachers. If you use it as a tool of consciousness, it's actually extremely powerful and effective to kind of wake you up to the nature of reality and yourself. Um, Also, I started finding out about extraterrestrials and their involvement in with the military, and I'm like, along with ancient Egypt and UFOs, and I'm like, okay, I'm not learning this shit in school, and I'm paying to go to school, and I'm going into debt for this shit. What? Like, hold on, hold up, like, there's so much more going on here than like I realized. So it was like an information overload, and then I had the key decision to decide like, okay, do I, I've already invested time into college, this is what my family wants me to do, this is what my identity, I have all my friends here, like, and all I had was a feeling that I should like leave it behind and maybe explore more. And so I did. And there was a key moment where I went on a walk by myself, and I was considering the weight of the decision of dropping out of college and literally changing my life trajectory forever based on just a feeling. And I remember I looked up at the sky, and this was kind of one of the pivotal moments I accessed my intuition, and was like, I received this kind of clear knowing that like, yeah, like dude, like this is for you, it's safe. It's not going to be necessarily easy, it might be challenging, but like a clear yes. So from there, like, shit, like, I mean, there's 1,000 stories, but that was kind of the key moment, where I like was in class. I remember I was in business class and I was sitting there, and the teacher pulled up a YouTube video, and when like I was like trying to pay attention, and I'm like, why? And like this feeling, this like, oh man, like I'm out. I got up, I walked out, I never went back to class again. And so like it was just all these things happening simultaneously. It's like a rebirth moment, so to speak. So
Sweet story, man. Yeah. Just random questions. What did you study in school? I know you say you were in business class, but
yeah, it was business marketing, and I wanted to go to film school. I didn't get into film school because I was like partying basically, and my grades didn't reflect the ideal of a student who should be accepted. And so business marketing was like a kind of like to accent my passion for videography and stuff.
Okay, so sweet deal. And then
Yeah.
I love that you said, I'm in school, I'm going in debt, and I'm not learning anything about extraterrestrials, ancient Egypt, or UFOs. Like,
this is fucking whack.
Yeah. So the fascinating thing is, after my spiritual awakening, I've really appreciated all this knowledge, right? And I don't know, I'm sure you are familiar with Gaia.com. Yeah, of course.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. Like this conscious-based news media network has a ton. I mean, if you want to get lost in this sort of information, a ton of it is up there. But you're right.
Oh yeah.
When with my own path, when I got to the point where I said this can't be it, was very different. I mean, I went through all of college. I graduated as a pharmacist. I went to business school, graduated. But while I was in business school and working as a pharmacist, I started to just turn into this person that I had not always been. I wasn't excited. I was kind of gray, sad. I really turned into a jerk, to be honest. And then one day I just thought, this can't be it. Life doesn't make any freaking sense. Not what I'm learning in pharmacist school, not what I'm learning in my religious teachings, not what I'm learning while working, not what I'm learning in business school. It doesn't translate when I come to the real world. It's like, and if there's a creator of all of this, there's got to be another way to find or to reconnect and to make sense of this reality. So I started meditating. Shit just hit the fan right when I began. And then, what is it now? That was in 2013, 2014. So 7 years later, I wrote the book, started a podcast, put myself out there, connected with you, and here we are, basically. But in the meantime, right, I started exposing. When I would meditate and things would happen, I would question it. And one good thing about pharmacy school was to learn that when I'm like self-diagnosing or self-analyzing, I don't confirm what I think it is through bias. And a classic example would be like when I was in pharmacy school, we were studying about menopause, and I thought I was menopausal. I was like, this is it. This is like all my problems are menopausal. So I would have this experience and research and try not to say, okay, this is what's happening to me. But it just led to stuff like this, different stories about ancient Egypt that I didn't learn in school, extraterrestrials and its involvement in the US government. And coming from Africa, I was like, dude, this sounds like total witchcraft. What are you talking about? And then personal experiences as well that led to all of this. So I can relate.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Now you decide to leave school. How do your parents or family, how does your family take it? That's usually a challenging aspect with these changes.
Oh, absolutely. Like, they were like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're going to be the first kid in our family to graduate college. Like, you're so sharp, you're smart. Like, you need to do this, you need to be successful. No, it was like a train wreck. Like, that was like an identity crisis that actually I kind of put me down to like a depression or like a deep kind of anger with the way the system was kind of set up. But my mom was like, my parents divorced when I was 8. So it's like my dad didn't really have any say whether I dropped out or not. And my mom, thankfully, has always been extremely open to pretty much anything. Like, like in terms of like even us growing up, she understood we were going to maybe experiment with drugs or alcohol. And so she's always been really understanding. But at the same time, it was really hard for her to swallow that. And like, my family was just like, what the fuck, man? Like, you're falling off. And that was hard, man. Like, it was hard. Like, I broke down. I was like, but the beautiful thing about that, when you make a moment, when you decide to do something like that, is you have no choice at that point. You're like, okay, like I pulled the trigger. And this idea of success that they're claiming I can't reach, like, watch me, so to speak. Like, it's like, I'm going to take this energy and all of this emotion and I'm going to turn it into something beautiful. So I'm not going to like be like the stereotypical college dropout or whatever the fuck, they were projecting onto me. What's beautiful about moments like that is when you're down, you have a chance for rebirth, and you have all this energy to use to create a new life for yourself, and that whatever ideal you had for yourself in terms of success for college, you can completely reinvent that and put it into a whole new way of living and being. So what I was more interested in is just like the truth, like the knowledge, the spirituality, ETs, like what's actually going on here, because my face isn't supposed to be in a book about like marketing tactics and shit, like unless I have a purpose first and like a mission, which again we're not really taught to tap into as individuals. But yeah, it was hard, dude. It was hard for sure.
I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you've said. Seriously, I mean, the identity crisis, that sounds like ego death to me. Like, who am I? This isn't who I'm supposed to be. My family is like saying that's not who you're meant to be. You're supposed to go to college, graduate. You're going to be the first one in our family to do this. You almost feel selfish in a way, like you're losing your marbles, So that's huge.
Totally.
Yeah. And then the other thing you talk about, which really helps anybody who is like on a spiritual path and trying to find a soul tribe or similar folks, is the whole idea of taking what the universe gives you and then turning it into like a creative outlet. In my book, I discuss it as, I think it's chapter 8. Don't quote me on that. Sorry, but it's called Satan, the Devil is Your Best Friend. Right? Where you said, I'm going to turn this identity crisis into something awesome. Right? That's really the way I understood it, is this whole idea of Satan being like something or somebody to sort of impede our growth is actually like, if you think about stone carving or whatever, it's actually helping chip away at all these aspects of who we're not, so that we can really redefine ourselves and make the choice. And I love that you were able to kind of flip it around in that way, which works. Which works. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And the words you use, chance at a rebirth, these mean so much to me right now. It's like ego death. It's self-realization. It never stops. You're basically letting go of these foundational beliefs that were what have created the identity that you currently identify with. And then the crisis is, this isn't stable. This is not stable, man. This can't hold me up. Why should I keep doing this? That's awesome. And then can you speak more about your interest in the truth, right? Because that's something that happens, especially in the spiritual community, where you hear many people say, "Oh, I had a spiritual awakening," and then it doesn't necessarily mean that you're all speaking the same language or that you all believe the same thing as you're making this transition. So, can you speak to that, please, some more?
Yeah. So on a broader aspect, like I grew up in like elementary school. I went to like a Christian school, and for me, like truth begins when you start to question everything, really, which can be really uncomfortable too. And kind of when like you look at the world with new eyes. So it's not like there's a truth out there. It's like, okay, the truth. One of the most beautiful parts of my life was when, actually in college too, when I surrendered everything. I forgot everything. I forgot everything I was told. I forgot every concept about the Big Bang or creation, and I just stared at the creation and with new eyes, and I wondered with intuition and curiosity, and I started pondering like how this creation works, and so that's a beautiful way to kind of like create a blank slate for yourself and like stare at creation with new eyes and wonder, and what kind of like tune into maybe what you feel is true for you first. But we also like knowledge and stuff like that too. So what I was mainly interested in is the nature of creation, like how it works, why we're here, what the fuck is going on, why, like who am I, like what is this? Because like I've been taught these things, and like I've been taught to follow Jesus, which I found out there's actually some truth in terms of our evolution and ascension. But like, let me just throw all this shit away and try to discover it for myself. And you know the truth essentially in my experience by the way it feels, and the truth is forever changing. Like what's completely true, at least in my experience, is like no knowledge. Like you can try to hold on to knowledge and shape an identity out of it, but it can be taken away from you. So but there are some really good channel texts I came across from higher dimensional beings, basically, that talk about the nature of creation and how reality works. And it was like the exact textbook I was actually looking for in my life. Like it was like what I wanted to go to college for, basically. It was just breaking down everything, like the energy centers, our evolution, how it works, like the history of our planets, like who we are, what we're doing here. And it was like, when you're like so enthralled in something, it's like captures your attention. You can't escape it. It's like you're falling into the fucking hole of it. It's like, holy shit. It's like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to learn. This is it. Like, this is what and it's like, it was like simple revelations like that knowledge or that text I came across, or even the knowledge I came across from a teacher on YouTube who stated the simple fact that we can take vibrational control of our being and reality and not base it off of outside circumstances. So, as humans, we take cue from our vibrational or our circumstances outside of us. We look at things and we say, well, now I feel this way, instead of doing it the other way around, becoming our own vibrational power source, so to speak. Not taking our cue from circumstances and allowing ourselves to feel however we want to feel regardless. So that was a nugget of truth for me because it resonated and it's experiential and I can put it into practice and it's truth. But we're not taught that. So we're not taught the knowledge of the ancient texts and stuff that I came across. We're not taught how to take vibrational control over ourselves and our reality. But the truth is kind of experiential. It's a knowing. It's different between each of us because at the end of the day, when every idea is shared about spirituality and religion, and you're right, like people have different viewpoints. So that's not the answer. The answer really is being. It's really just being, because if we take away words and we're all in like a tribe together, so to speak, and we don't even use words to communicate, what are we going to use? We're going to use actions. We're going to use love. We're going to use vibration. So that's like the truth of being is the truth for me. It's like, that's the sauce. That's the sauce.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
Dude, you're so beautiful, man. I love this. Thanks for sharing all of that. Okay, and
Yeah.
To me, you're preaching to the choir, right? I get this stuff, right? And one thing I do want to highlight is the ability, which comes with a lot of practice and with a lot of knowing yourself, with a lot of patience, to be able to feel a certain way by choice, like innately, to say this is how I want to feel regardless of the circumstance around me. That takes ceaseless, dedicated, disciplined practice. It is possible, right? I've experienced many bouts of this. I'm experiencing that right now. And before I called you, I was actually feeling guilty about what's going on in the world right now. Like if you watch the news, there's always something. Right now it's COVID. Right now it's flu. Like there's always something. If you were alive in the early 1900s, it'll be the world wars. There's always something, right? And one of the big questions for me was this: is how can I be at peace knowing that the world is always going to offer the opportunity to not be at peace? And I found out it wasn't by looking outside, it was by going within. And it sounds like, it could sometimes sound like very selfish, but that's why we're here. And if we look at beings in the past who have incarnated on this planet and were able to do amazing things, right? And we ask, but what did they do differently? A lot of it was basically how they understood who they were and how they reacted with what was available to them. And we have that same opportunity here today. I've always wanted to create this clickbait video of that there would never be world peace, because there's always been, there is, and there always will be world peace. But we're just not looking for it the right way, right? That innate feeling of being okay with who we are, trusting that, and then using that to learn more about us. We got to go within. We got to look at that. And I love where you said that nugget of truth. It's a feeling. It's internal. It comes in so many random pockets. And it's always evolving. I don't know how you feel about that. But what I mean is, if we know something today, we might think, oh, we got it all. And that has happened to me many times. But I've been so humbled ceaselessly by the fact that what I know is just another beginning. Just another beginning. Yeah. And you talk about it. I love it. Yeah,
Amen,
the experiential of knowing. Oh, key. This is awesome. And curiosity is basically that, right? Currently always searching, always seeking to know. Now, man, you said so many things. This is sweet. And I apologize, but I got to add this. Forgetting everything you currently know is a really big piece in helping find your soul tribe, or in helping you evolve when you start on the spiritual path. That is huge. And you hear many sages say this: forget everything you know. It's really to come at life with this childlike wonder, like, everything I know may not be true. What is true? And then you ask, and the universe will provide the answers in random ways, in synchronicities, in connecting with other people. I don't know,
dude. So good.
It's true. So we're talking about soul tribes today. Let me ask you this: what do you define as a soul tribe? Like, if someone says, "Key, what the heck are you talking? What's a soul tribe? What are you talking about?"
So I would say it's people that, and you can experience this you can connect soul to soul with anybody really at the end of the day. But like, it's like this again, feeling. So in the spiritual journey, essentially the way that I experienced it, when I left my friends behind at college, they weren't interested in the things I was interested in. They weren't interested in any of the topics I was talking about. They thought I was crazy. They're like, Keilan's conspiracy theorist. So you feel misunderstood. So you don't feel connected. There's no bridge of connection, and you shouldn't expect that with everybody. But it's a bridge of connection. Someone in your soul tribe is a bridge of connection. It's a remembering of who you are through them, and like a simultaneously remembering, like when you're like, yes, it's a feeling. It's like people feel like home to you, and and again, what's cool is the more you feel at home with yourself, again, the outer reality is just reflecting that. So it's you can connect with people just as deeply as you connect with yourself. So, but a soul tribe really is like this fucking. It can be like a fresh glass of water after being in the desert for like 30 days, because in the dark night of the soul, so to speak, it's like you feel misunderstood, you feel you're alone, and perhaps in your immediate reality you are, because your family and friends don't understand you from the old paradigm. So it's downloading the new paradigm for yourself, radiating that out into existence, and then slowly trusting the process and seeing who comes into your field. And it's just a knowing. Because some of our friends that we'll hang out with, we'll have like good friends, like it's a good friendship, but we might even like not fully resonate, but it's like a complete trust, opening of the heart to these people and individuals. That's like a beautiful relationship. And it's like a relationship, really. It's more than just like a surface-based friendship of like, let's go out and get some drinks tonight. It's a remembering of who you are. It's like it's appreciation for what you know that is shared between each other, and it's like a soul remembrance kind of. So it's a feeling, but when it happens, you'll know. And we meet people from our soul tribe all the time. Like even going through college, I had a group of friends, and that was my soul tribe at the time. But I reached a deeper understanding of myself and what I'm here to do. And so I needed a deeper connection. I needed people that I could meet there. And by holding that space for myself, you end up attracting those people. So it's just people that match your vibration, your frequency, your mission, your intention for existing and being, really. And you get to share that experience with them.
Yeah.
No,
that's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I love it. Thanks for that explanation. Now, imagine that you've gotten so comfortable, right, with constantly knowing yourself that you attract these members. How do they support you? How do members of the soul tribe then support you from there?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So it can be vibrationally just by being together. Like you guys enjoy being in each other's presence because you're on the same frequency. If you're on the spiritual journey and you have the privilege to like group meditate, what we do a lot too actually is offer each other reflections. So because what happens is a lot of us, are kind of conditioned based on our past programming, whether we went through like certain experiences in life that were hard or traumatic, and they kind of built a shell over our hearts, or like we think we need to protect ourselves in a certain way, or we develop certain nervous habits. So I think what's really cool is when a soul tribe is aligned with helping each other evolve to our true higher self, its potential, so to speak, and offering reflections like saying like if I have like a nervous laugh, for example, which I realize I do, if a situation gets too tense, I might laugh to like try to break the tension or something, but it's actually manipulation. It's not authentic, it's not true, and I'm not holding space for that energy. So in my experience, how we support each other is by being there for each other, like sharing love, sharing experiences, a natural flow, a natural giving, a natural desire to experience creation, and like actually having intimate moments with each other, vulnerable moments where we're not afraid to open up about things that are on our mind or hearts, or if I like, so just opening up to each other, being vulnerable, being open to reflection, like, hey, I noticed you do this. Why do you do this? So it's practicing self-awareness. So having friends that kind of allow you to turn your gaze inwards and even focus on yourself and ask, where does this come from? Why do I do this? Where is this coming from? Is it authentic? Is it a part of me that's unhealed, maybe, that I need to integrate? And holding space for that with no judgment for each other to evolve, basically. So those are like some of the ways that we can support each other, I would say, on like a deeper level.
Yeah. Those are all fascinating, man. Those are great. I love all of them. One other way, just if I can add this, if you give me the license to, is besides everything you've said, one way I've always thought about a soul tribe or a soul member is somebody who like basically helps you continuously go through a life review while you're alive. Because if I think about, when you die, you go through this life review, right? You're with people who really support you. And then the person who is really going through that life review, who is really judging it's you, right? You're doing the most judging. You're like, I could have done better here. I was authentic there. That was so awesome. Look how much I learned everybody, right? And I think that's what a soul tribe does for you. Like before you die, this is like a never-ending life review. This is who you are, right? And that's what you attract in a sense. They're showing you who you are, showing you what you accept, what you don't, what's challenging you, right? And they're supporting you. Integrate all these aspects of yourself so that you can ceaselessly evolve. And I think, that's basically everything you said. One big piece, man, the whole idea of being vulnerable and intimate. That is hard, but boy, is it necessary. And just to throw this out there, if you've read any books about near-death experiences, people who have crossed over and come back, and then they'll always tell you how super easy it is to communicate on the other side. They're like, there's no need to hide or pretend. We know everything about everybody. That's like vulnerability to the max. Here on planet Earth, nah. We got egos. We're hiding out. I'm not,
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. It's like, I'm not fooling this. And so this is huge. The whole idea of being vulnerable. Man, you can't grow if you aren't. How am I supposed to help you if I don't really know who you are? Man, I love it, dude. You're awesome. Let's keep going. You keep talking about this feeling, right? It's like it's a feeling, okay? And that's so true. There's so much subjectivity in individual soul growth. If you can, as best as you can, describe a feeling that you get when you meet a member of, say, your soul tribe, for instance. So what does that feel like for Key?
So there's I've actually met people online first for like sing videos that they posted. And there's like this dude, like, I want to have a conversation with you. Like, there's like, it's like this, like, it's like a, again, it's kind of like being refreshed. It's the feeling of like, no different than grabbing the water when you're thirsty. It's like, oh, like, it's like, and you know, when you first meet people, we do have our egos up. We have these walls up, you know, and we're kind of test the waters, so to speak. And we're kind of like looking at each other, like checking each other out, like, okay, like, yeah, okay. And, but eventually something's going to click because you're in the field for a reason. So it's just a feeling of remembering, really, which is weird because it's like it's happening for the first time, but it's like a oh yeah, or like a that feeling. And it can also be, again, when you meet people online, I see someone talking and I'm like, dude, this is the dude I want to hang out with. He's interested in everything like I'm interested in, and the frequency of his embodiment or her embodiment is like it's just like you just know, it's so hard to explain, but so yeah. And like simultaneously you notice the contrast when you start meeting people that are here to help you ascend in your evolution, and you're like, damn, like I didn't even know this world was possible. And it does take vulnerability. It takes vulnerability, and it takes being honest with who you are, with yourself, and because then you can share that experience with other people, and then you create a bridge. So if you're closed off and you're, you know, too cool for school, so to speak, then, you know, you're gonna meet people that are like that because that's your idea of cool. Yeah. It's like, no, but for me, it's like people who are vulnerable, authentic, feel emotions, like are curious about the journey. So it's like birds of a feather. So it's a feeling, but yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's more like the best I could do is say it's a remembering of who you are through this other person as well. And it's just like a resonance. Like it's the conversations carry themselves. There's no trying, there's no efforting. You don't have to like squeeze into some weird box and pretend to be someone you're not. Yeah. Like you're just yourself. Like that's it. And it's so yeah. That, if that answers the question.
It does. I mean, how can it not? There's no wrong way to answer this. A big piece of what you said is there's a subjectivity to it. There's a knowing that no one else can describe for you. And it's as easy as this. Just think about to a time in your life where you were so sure about something that it almost made you laugh, like, oh man, this can't be true. You know, like when you meet, especially when you're in the club, like if you go clubbing, you meet a girl, you're like, God dang, that girl fine. You know, like you just know, like that. Those feelings come about, and when they come up, especially when it's so brand new, you can't even describe it. You just start laughing, like this. I don't even know what to say. I just feel this way, right? That's kind of how it feels for me, you know. And then,
dude, totally,
yeah. If I can,
it's from the heart too.
It is. It's very heartfelt.
It's a feeling.
Yeah. And then you sometimes you might even sweat. Like, let me tell you this story just random, real quick, and I'll try to shorten it. There was one time when this was in Sydney, Montana. We went to like after work, we went to like a CE, a continued education program training that this company put out for diabetes treatments. And I come into the room and I'm sitting with my coworker and a couple of other of my coworkers who worked in the hospital with me, and we're waiting for the class to start. And this lady walks in. I've never seen her before, right? She walks in. She's literally about 30 feet away from me. She's walked into the restaurant, but not into the separate room where we are. She walks in and I look over and I know her. I don't know from where I know her. I just know I know this lady. And I cannot shake the feeling. It's over me. Like, I'm just like, I know this girl. I don't know where I know her from. And it was also odd. My ego kicked in because we're in this place. Her husband is actually part of the people who are hosting the event. So I feel kind of awkward. Like, if I start asking her randomly, like, where do I know you from? It won't look good. Like, Roland, what are you trying to do? She's married.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and she walks all the way from after she entered the restaurant into the room. She walks in, and I'm just looking, staring. Like, I know this woman. I know this girl. She's a young lady in her, either early 30s or late 20s, right? About my age. And she comes and she sits right next to us. And she's working with a nurse practitioner who works with us in the hospital. And so I'm looking and I'm like, man, where do I know you from? So I start going through. We're trying to exchange information. Oh, did you go to school in North Dakota? Nope. Did you go to school in Kentucky where I live? Nope. We go through every place where I've been that she has been in the United States. And she says no. And I'm like, you're kidding. I know you from somewhere. I know you. I know you. I can't shake the feeling. They start the class or the education, and I can't pay attention. I can't. I'm just like, I know this woman. I know you. Sometime during the evening, she like moves her sweater or something, and she has this tattoo on her hand with Africa on it, a huge tattoo of Africa on it, and then there's a heart right in the armpit of Africa. So if Africa is shaped kind of like this, she had a heart, or like a heart right in the center armpit of Africa. And I look at it, and I go, oh, that's an odd tattoo. What's that about? She goes, oh yeah, it's a tattoo of Africa. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm from Africa, dude. I'm from Cameroon. At this time, she doesn't know. And I say, yeah, I'm familiar with Africa. And I go, what's that? She goes, well, I spent some time in Africa with my family, missionary trips or something. And I was like, where? She goes, oh, you wouldn't know. It's just this small country in Africa. And I was like, well, what is it? She goes, Cameroon. And then I'm like, holy shit, I'm from Cameroon. Wait a minute, is this where I know you from? So I go, you were in Cameroon? She's like, yeah. I was like, when were you in Cameroon? She tells me all this time. And I go, oh, I was there too. And I was like, where were you? She said she was born and she lived in a town called Bamenda. That's where I went to what we call college, but it's really like high school not high school. It's like 6th grade to 12th grade. Yeah. Some middle school through high school. And it was a boarding school that I went to. I was there for 3 years. And she said, yeah, she lived in Bamenda for many years, but never crossed paths with me. We never did. Like the time she was there and when I was there, we never overlapped. But I could not shake the feeling that I knew this woman, and as well as the fact that we were both in Cameroon together and we ended up in this place. And she didn't have the same sort of memory, right? It was really odd, but she was like, nah, I don't remember. And then it made me think of many lessons in like the journey of souls where you meet these people and you have this connection with them from like maybe a past life and everything. But beyond that, that was the end. But I just wanted to share that story to show that sometimes when you meet these people, part of your soul tribe, right, where you are will connect because they may not be there as well. And then that was like a case for us where she wasn't there. And I was just like, oh, this is an odd feeling. Odd feeling.
Yeah, totally.
But you can't shake it, man. So
yeah,
let's keep going. That's one way to describe, how you feel when you meet someone you think is a member of your soul tribe. And if you can find the courage to like pursue it, great. But I didn't want to because she's married, and then it becomes like really this odd thing. That's my ego speaking, by the way. Right? That's my ego speaking.
Yeah. Well, it's society's conditioning. That's kind of how we've been trained to interact, and that is a question too of like how vulnerable can we be together, and how like in terms of not possessive over like our partners, and like to the point where like they can't even have a conversation with another human being, so that's definitely conditioned into us. But I think as our hearts awaken and our intentions become more pure, like there's going to be more space for just like honest conversations, and those things won't happen like you experienced.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. Key, my man, understanding that we're constantly and ceaselessly evolving, do you think that you may ever evolve beyond a place where someone who you thought was a member of your soul tribe no longer becomes or no longer stays part of your soul tribe?
Yeah, like nothing's off the table, I would say. So as we evolve, like our intentions change, our mission changes, like our vibration maybe even, like it's like it's an orchestration, it's a dance kind of. So the way I experience it or see it is, we'll have moments in life where we kind of come together and we share this amazing, dance with people in like a dance circle, and like everyone's having a good time. And then maybe that party ends, maybe maybe that party ends, whether it's a couple months or a couple years, however long, like, the connection's meant to last, like, to where you're not necessarily like forcing it anymore, and there's a fresh energy there, between like some of your soul tribe members. So yeah, totally, I would say it's definitely a possibility. And what's cool also is when you take that into consideration, you might feel more inclined to not take the current people you're around for granted, because not every connection in that sense of a soul tribe is meant to last forever. So it's like, it really wakes you up to being like, damn, I'm so glad we're together in this moment. And it wakes you up to the lucidity of the dream of sharing this experience with them, and makes you want to kind of extract the most from it, and from like an excited point of view. So nothing's off the table, I would say. Like, but like, I don't know, if at the same time people could be all over the spectrum, because there's some people I know that just like, I always feel like I'll always have like a love and respect for them no matter what. And it's just like, that goes beyond space and time. So
of course, yeah. No, you answered it awesomely, man. Honestly, in my opinion, you did, just because that's like life on planet Earth. It's full of contradictions. Like, yes, people will come in your life and leave. The whole idea of not being attached to that, I love the way you said, gives you an opportunity to be really present when they are. Like, appreciate everything they're learning you and what you're also providing. That's like the power of now summarized in one sentence. Eckhart Tolle should like call you and thank you, man, for real. And then the other part about like those intimate soul tribe members who are part of your journey for life, right? They're journeying with you, they're incarnating on the planet with you. That other side I also understand is they're always going to be there. They'll play different roles for you. They may be your dad, they may be your brother. In this life, in the future life, it switches. Some of them you might get married to. The possibilities, like you said, nothing's off the table. Some important things come about though is, right, like for someone like you, where I would say you have a better knowing of these things, right? And so you're able to approach them a little bit better. For someone who is just starting out, some aspects might bother them, or some aspects might actually prove to be more of a challenge to grasp and then be able to use to their benefit. We've mentioned vulnerability as a big piece. It takes work to be vulnerable. Another one is the idea of control, right? Because this life is so contradicting. You want to kind of control as much of your environment as you can so that you like at least feel like the foundation strong enough for you to take the next step. But it can also hinder you. So how has your desire for control, like to control your environment as much, which I'm laughing at myself asking you this because you're such a free spirit. Talk about, I went to Ecuador with a freaking backpack. I got and like 2 items. So asking you that is like, well, I'm not really somebody who tries to control much of my environment, but what would you tell somebody, because that's part of this conversation, like we're trying to help people find your soul tribe. What would you tell somebody who's like still dealing with this, how control can either support or hinder their ability to really evolve on the spiritual path to where they're attracting the right people?
Yeah, so in terms of control, it's like having the courage to be yourself, like having the courage to put yourself out there. Like that's one thing that you can actually do in terms of social media is you can control like this conversation, this podcast, for example. It came from a genuine place of like, I felt a call basically. It says, people are maybe experiencing loneliness because I went through the same thing. So how can I help or be of assistance to that? Okay, let me be intentional. Let me be focused. And this is kind of like more masculine energy where you can control your environment. So you hop on your phone and you feel an inspiration to write a post, or you feel an inspiration to put yourself out there and be courageous in terms of who you are. So you can't be afraid to be seen. And that goes back to the vulnerability thing. So what you can do is put yourself out there and boldly, like as one example, you can control where you decide to show up. So you can go to environments where these people might be hanging out of a similar vibration or like mind. You can control starting a conversation and listening to your intuition that maybe tells you to go talk to that person. So you can given your intention to meet your soul tribe, you can start asking, where do these people maybe hang out, and then trusting your intuition. Let's go to the yoga studio, or like, let me post this and put it out there with hashtags, and like we're more connected than ever. So you can put yourself out there boldly, courageously, and through that process, you actually die to your ego too, by expressing yourself. If you're just new into spirituality or something, and you put a new concept out there that you've been integrating or practicing, you're just sharing your experience. and you're going to die to the version of yourself that gives a fuck about what other people think about you. And you're going to trust yourself more because you're like, this is true for me. And it takes courage to put yourself out there. So you're, at least in my experience, I'm going to make sure I'm coming from the right place. And this is actually something I mean. And I'm not trying to say something to be cool or trendy or spiritual. Or, there's superficial layers of spirituality too. But to answer your question, yeah, put yourself out there, set the intention to meet like-minded people, because then it's in your awareness. If you're not even thinking it's possible and you think you're going to be lonely and misunderstood for the rest of your life, then that's the story you're going to write for yourself. But if you have an awareness that there are people out there and God isn't, and this universal intelligence isn't cruel, and why would it be? It's came this far. We've evolved this far. So it's obviously intelligent, and so you have faith in that, you have trust in that, you tap into that feeling maybe first of what it would feel like to be connected to other people, to be understood. And because that, if you can feel it, it is a reality. So you can tap and tune into that space. Give that connection to yourself. Give that understanding that maybe you're even looking for a soul tribe to give you. Give that to yourself first, possibly, and then come from that space of more wholeness. And if you can't give that to yourself too, that's completely okay. But you'll meet people that are maybe seeking, that have that same desire, that have that same longing, and you're gonna attract those people as well. Then you can climb together from there. So. You can control how you show up to the world. You can control what you put out there in terms of content. You can control where you decide to go. You can control having conversations with people, setting the intention to put yourself out there and meeting new people. And I mean, yeah, that's and doing whatever the fuck you actually want to do. Like, if you feel like making a video, make a video, like put it online. Like, who knows what's gonna happen? Like, so trusting yourself, trusting yourself. You can control trusting yourself. You can control how you feel, and you can control how you show up to the world. So. Do that.
Dude, I love it, man. The passion in your voice, and when you're speaking, I can hear it. And one of the next questions I was going to ask you about was the whole idea of having there's a certain level of faith and trust, right? That has to be part of this. Will as well, to where is it coming from, right? And you've touched on the faith and trust part of it is I trust that what I'm doing is the right thing. It feels right, right? And you control then how you do it. And you've touched on so many aspects of it. And one I just want to add, which you did talk about as well, if people were listening, is the whole idea of also controlling what you expose yourself to. That's a huge piece, right? It's like, if you want to evolve, don't expose yourself to information or people or things or experiences that are going to make it even more challenging. Because trust me, there's enough challenge just by being exposed to what you think will help you evolve. Don't make it any harder, right? And it takes a lot of self-control and knowing thyself to do this. Now, the other aspect of this is the idea of non-attachment to the outcomes or to what you're doing. Would you mind talking a little bit about that, like how non-attachment really helps in this evolution that we're doing, especially if you decide to put yourself out there, right? You develop this feeling and you say, I'm going to do this. Then you put yourself out there. And how does non-attachment play to this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really, like, when you're tired of like not being yourself and you're like, you have nothing to lose. Like, it's really so the question is talking about unattachment, right?
Yeah, non-attachment. So in the sense of which you really did, you did answer this if everyone's paying good attention. When you talked about, where the stuff's coming from. Where what you're about to do is coming from, right? You have this feeling, you have this knowing that what you're about to do is authentic. Okay, maybe I want to attract Soul Tribe, and I said, this is really what I want to do, and I put it out there. Faith and trust will support you doing that. When I was asking about non-attachment, I was thinking more along the lines of, and you can add to this or take away if you don't think it is when you do that, because of this huge trust that you have that things are going to work out, right? You kind of let go of how it happens in a way. So you're non-attached. So many times you might say, I'm really doing this to help folks, but I want like so many people to see it or so much feedback. And that can sometimes hinder you from keep going. right? And I say this too, as from my personal experience, where I go, I put this post out and only 10 people said something back, right? And that's helping me grow to say, but right, do that work that you mentioned. Why are you really putting it out? Is that how you really feel? Are the right people seeing it? And I had a conversation today with a very good mentor, Randy Weinheimer, who he's been on my podcast many times. We've had many conversations. And I was just telling him how I feel guilty about the fact that I'm no longer in pharmacy and people are like worried about, taking care of folks who are getting sick. And I could go back and help. I was like, but it doesn't feel right now. It doesn't. Like, it really doesn't. And you know what he said to me? It's like, boo-hoo, Roland, you just want attention. Quit being a crybaby. It's like, quit being a crybaby. Like, don't you like what you're doing? And I was like, yeah, I love it. This feels right. And I was like, what the heck do you want then? What? And he just made me remember what it means to be a unique expression of consciousness. Like that everything's okay. Do what feels authentic. Don't feed into the idea that, you need to do something because it's not coming from the right place. Right. And he kind of talked me out of it. And it has to do with this whole non-attachment piece, in that, what do I think I'm going to do? I'm going to go work and then currently save everybody. It's like, nah, man, you didn't create this environment. There's only so much you can do. Contribute to how much of the environment you feel like. Be authentic about it. He put me in my place and I loved it. He was just like, yeah.
Totally. So I picked up on a couple of things, in terms of non-attachment. So it's like, when you are kind of going back to the conversation we just had about control and putting yourself out there, what's weird is when you start becoming authentic, or a new level of authentic for you, or you're stepping into a new expression, so to speak, you're going to be a magnet of authenticity. Okay. And so what I've also realized is you're going to repel people and you're going to attract people, but you shouldn't take the repelling as a sign that you're on the wrong path. You shouldn't take the repelling of other people's opinions about you or of what you're doing, people's opinions in general. I posted last week about how I noticed I was invested energetically into the presidential election, so to speak. My ego, my personality thought it mattered a lot. And I popped that bubble and I'm like, whoa, hold on. Actually, I can see how I was assuming a character, and I can maintain my vibrational freedom and go back to that space where it actually doesn't matter. And to some people, friends were like, what are you talking about? This is a broken system. People are being oppressed. This is white privilege. You're privileged to have this experience and point of view. It's not reality. Fuck all that. Fuck all that. You can listen, but at the same time, if you're coming from a true and authentic place, then the words are going to kind of fall off of you, and you can still maybe have a conversation with someone who has a different point of view. But so in regards to your posts and stuff, I think we all experience the same thing. We obviously are invested in making an impact, so it can be hard to trust the process. It can be hard to have patience, for sure. And it can be you'll have this moments why the fuck am I even doing this? But those are healthy questions to ask, because if you can ask yourself those questions, then you're gonna even unlock a deeper sense of purpose and drive, in my experience, for the mission that you can trust. So it's an internal feeling first, and you have to trust that. And obviously, when you're doing things that matter to you, there's a natural fulfillment there. There's a natural sense of expansion. So trusting that feeling to lead you to the right places is really, you learn that life and vibration is more intelligent than you could ever be. So you can try to control what your outcome of what career you want to do, etc. But there's a natural intelligence that's flowing through us, and we're not even responsible for it. So it's you have to trust that feeling. It's just it's no different than when your music is on and that you're dancing, even if you can't dance, but these moves are coming out of nowhere and you're fucking killing it. You don't even care, but you don't know what's next. You don't know what's next. So you have to be at home with just riding the wave, man. We're here for a fucking second. So it's give that experience to yourself with freedom and trust, and then see what happens. And eventually you realize, whoa, way more cooler shit happens, and I have way cooler experiences when I trust this feeling. But there can be a gap there, but you're given that vision for a reason. So trust it. And what's so cool about the process of not manifesting a huge audience immediately, or whatever it is that we want in terms of having an impact, is it forces you to get more and more true, and more real, and more distilled, and more authentic, really, because you're investing time in this. So at the end of the day, it's not like you're gonna do something that's not authentic for you. It's like, well, shit, I'm showing up to this. I might as well make it the my last podcast, or the most badass thing, like energetically speaking, you know? They're like, fuck it, like I could be fucking gone next week, so I might as well leave an energetic imprint that like feels freeing, liberating, and like actually has an impact by not being attached to having one. Ironically, you're like, but it's dude, it's a paradox. It's such a paradox, because
it is.
You want to have an impact, but you have to be surrendered to even giving a fuck about having one. Like
that's the life that we're currently living, which is why I discussed this at length in my book, that actually right at the beginning, the dedication basically is, hey, if you are not a brave soul, or if no one has ever told you that you're a brave soul, let me be the first to tell you. Right when you open my book, you're a brave soul. This book exists because of you, right? And if you weren't a brave soul, you would not come to this planet. The contradictions, the paradoxes, they're just mind-boggling, to the point where you can't use your rational mind to make sense. You really have to transcend it. And then that's when like the spiritual mind comes in, the spirituality comes in. And then it also helps you make a choice, because then you're not so attached to the fact that your rational mind is trying to rationalize things that it can't fully. Right? And you know that, oh, there's a whole point to this fucking game. Yeah, there is, man. Just chill. And so that helps. That helps a lot. Yeah, it really does.
Totally.
It really does. And then before, I do want to ask you a little bit about your LSD experience. But before I do, I want to say this as far as meeting members of a soul tribe is, if you're watching this on YouTube and it's like a video, I just want you to know that Key was a big part of this. Most of my podcasts aren't video. They're not. This is how we usually record, but we don't post it. Like I never posted the video. I just do the audio. and part of that was, it's like an ego thing. I was like, nah, I don't have the bandwidth to edit and post. But you're like, no, it's important. Let people see the emotions, which is, I do record with video, but I don't post them. I just post the audio. It's easier to edit. So I want to thank you for that and give you like the credit. You weren't the first person to tell me, but after talking to you, I just felt, well, let's do exactly what I'm really preaching. This whole idea of non-attachment, trying to control things, and having faith. I don't know what's gonna come of it, but we're gonna put it out there. We're gonna put it out there, right? We're gonna work on it and put it out.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Totally.
So, again, without infringing on anyone's right to free will, right? I'm not telling you that you should do LSD or you shouldn't. It's very well documented that LSD has helped a lot of people have a spiritually transformative experience. I didn't do LSD. I did ayahuasca. I've documented it. If you check my YouTube channel, there's all kinds of videos of me talking about my experiences with ayahuasca and why I went there. And I don't want to get into that. But just real quick, your journey to taking LSD and what came out of that, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, totally. So, the first time I took LSD, we went out to the woods with a couple of friends and a soul tribe, so to speak. And we took one tab, and we were just in nature. And I got really quiet and it kind of into my intuitive mind, because I was listening. I was trying to listen to what the drug was trying to teach me, or where it would take me. And it kind of like heightened my perception senses. So I was sitting on a stump and I was surrounded by shrubs, and the shrubs started like kind of moving like in like an ocean a little bit. I'm like, okay. I'm like, whoa. And then we went over to like a marsh area, like a swamp area, and there's like water that was like 3 inches high. And like I saw the earth taking in the water and then exhaling it and inhaling it and exhaling it. And I was like it became extremely obvious to me that I was walking on a living organism. Like earth is a live being. So that was like, holy fuck. And it also got me into my heart center, like so much, like so emotionally, where I'm like, oh my God, like I'm experiencing so much internally. And it woke me up to, so is everyone else. Like, so are you. Like everyone's experiencing just as deeply, to where even I called someone, I'm like, how are you doing? Like, how are you actually doing? Yeah. Like, holy fuck. Yeah. Like, are you good? Are you okay? Because life is crazy. And like, I want to be there for you. So I unlocked this heart awakening. And also when you take 2 tabs of LSD, again, like trust your own intuition wherever it leads you. But I'm not necessarily recommending this, but it's a completely different world. Like 1 tab, you're kind of like, it's a little wavy, but 2 tabs, like your friend's face is melting while you're talking to them. And like you have no sense of like reality, but like this heart space again is like just like blown open, and you become awake. You become awake. You become aware of the fact that you're alive and you exist in this moment, and that this dream is unfolding for you. And like the synchronicities, even in terms of like what I've experienced. Like one time I've done acid 5 times. I know I'm going to mention a couple different experiences, but I don't want you to get the impression that I'm just on acid all the time. I've done it 5 times in my life.
Wait, I gotta ask though. Are you on acid right now? Just teasing.
Yes. So another quick download from it was, we went to this Pink Floyd play in the theater held by a local city. And like during the intermission, me and my friend were just like, dude, I feel like we're exactly where we're supposed to be right now. And right when we said that, the church bell was just like dong, dong for the city. And we're just like you can't escape this dream that's unfolding for you. So in my experience, it wakes you up to the dream that's unfolding for you. It wakes you up to the flow that's within you that can unfold all these synchronicities, that allows you to kind of move through it very fluidly. And also, like one time I was just sitting across from a plant, a flower, and I was on like 2 tabs of acid, and was like the flower was just kind of staring at me, like if we were on a podcast with this flower face to face, like the flower would just be present, like looking, and like. But the intuitive intelligence I felt from this thing, like I had a conversation with it for 2 hours. Like it was like intelligent, alive. Like it was like I was getting my mind blown by the secrets and the whispers this flower was fucking telling me. Like, and it sounds crazy, but essentially you wake up to the dream you're in. You wake up to the intelligence that's all around you, that you take for granted every day. You walk by flowers, you see life in new lights, and you're just like, holy shit. It's like we went on a walk that night, and the moon was just sitting in the sky. We're like, oh, yep, there's the moon. Like, just floating there, that we see it all the time. We don't even think twice about it. But there's, you're just become hyper aware. And in my experience, as long as you are in nature and you have good friends around you, then in my experience, you're guaranteed to have a good time. Yeah. But you just wake up to the nature of reality in terms of who you are and what this is, and the dream that's unfolding, so to speak. No, I can relate again, because right, my journey to ayahuasca, it was interesting. And again, I document this so much on my YouTube channel, so check it out. There's a whole series, I think of 5 or 6 videos where I talk about everything. But it's true. The big piece about this alternating state of consciousness is that you attain either through drugs. My favorite today right now is meditating. It happens. That's how I awakened the very first time. Is the expansive awareness that you become aware of. And that expansive awareness is basically that everything is a unique expression of you interacting with itself to know itself infinitely, and your authenticity is contributing to this knowing. Like everything is like freaking alive. It's mind altering, and I can appreciate why people might go totally insane after they realize that, because that's nothing that you're taught from when you were born, unless you're born in an environment that nurtures and supports this kind of integrative knowledge. And then it starts to explain the bravery that it takes to incarnate on this planet, the challenges that you face, which are not really challenges because it's all from the same source. So nothing is really challenging you in the way you think it is. It's just helping you grow. It's chiseling your like extra information that you don't need, so you can redefine yourself, understand that you are this unique expression of the all, helping it know itself. And then with that knowledge, you can really step into your role. Like, I'm about to fucking win an Oscar with what I'm about to do next, Yeah. Like, I'm about to play this thing, Yeah. So I'm glad you shared that. And again, to be really clear, which you talked about, I'm not advocating. Discern, use your free will to decide whether or not you need to. I mean, meditating works. You go to my website, there's all kinds of resources there to help you develop an effective meditating practice. I encourage you to do it. Reach out to me, reach out to Key, right? He's got an awesome website, KeilanMcNeil.com. He's on social media, he's on Facebook, he's everywhere. You can definitely connect with him. And I know I didn't say this in the intro. Majid Jordan, that's the band from Canada that
that you
Oh
remind me
yeah,
of.
that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
Magic Jordan.
right.
That's the. I don't know why I can't remember that. I love those guys, and I love your music too. It's great, great creative expressions.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
We're
you.
right at an hour here, man. I usually like to keep the podcast this long. We've said a lot of things to
Cool.
help folks, who are starting out, um, to help them find a soul tribe. Right? Trust the process. Trust the process. Know thyself. Be vulnerable. That's big. Put yourself out there. So many things. I don't know if there's something you want to add before we close.
Yeah. So I know this podcast was a little all over the place, a little bit, but there's definitely a beautiful flow to it. But yeah, I love those keynotes you just gave. That's totally important. Trust the process. Know you're not alone, and find beauty in the current stage of your life, wherever that's at for you. And so there's definitely beauty in being alone and savoring that too. But in general, like play with reality. Like the relationship you have with life is a relationship. It's the relationship you're deciding to have to life. So like why not decide to have faith in it? And when you believe in life that way, it'll treat you how you're treating it. So wake up to the relationship you have with life, and maybe treat it differently, and ask yourself how you can maybe have a more beautiful relationship with life, and then everything else should start to reflect that. Like so yeah, trust the process. We're all in this together. We're all on this fucking floating rock called Earth in these human bodies, and we're doing the best we can, and I think we're in for an interesting journey. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Let's see what happens.
It's all we can do. Key, you're so awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, please connect with Key. He's on Instagram at X.Keilan, Keilan, and I'll have links to that and his website in the notes section of this podcast. By all means, listen to his music. You can connect to that as well. He'll have links to that on his Instagram page, and I'll also put links to that on the notes section of this podcast.
Awesome,
my man, you're so awesome.
Definitely, and
yeah.
So are you, dude. And yeah, go check out Roland stuff too. You're an amazing guy. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate how you're showing up with like authenticity and like, again, trust and faith in the process, just seeing where it goes. So
yeah.
So props to you too, man. I'm glad we connected.
Likewise, man. I'm trying to walk what I'm telling people to walk. I'd be like the worst person if I didn't do it, But yeah, guys, please connect. RolandAchenjang.com, at RolandAchenjang, Facebook and Instagram. The book is out, audiobook, paperback, as well as Kindle versions. Yeah, create an amazing day, my friends. Thanks for listening.